If you see an injustice, call it out. Try that video format out. If there's something out there, a company, a person, anything that you think is in the wrong, make a video about it, call them out. And be polarizing, take a side, be controversial a little bit in your video. And those are the kind of things that really help YouTubers grow. It gets you the watch time, the engagement, all the stuff that we talked about. Are you watching this video because you want to get more views and you're willing to do whatever it takes? Well, you're in luck because I'm going to share with you a strategy today that can really help you blow up on YouTube. And it's something that so many creators in the past have used to blow up. And not for the faint of heart. It's actually not an easy strategy, but it's one that a lot of creators are using to kind of stay relevant. And that's creating YouTube beef or just kind of having a lot of YouTube drama. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So if you're into that, go ahead and stick around. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Video Creator Show, where we talk about how to make it on YouTube. My name is Augie Johnston. I'm here with my co-host, Grant Ball, and we are talking about YouTube drama today. And, I mentioned it's a strategy, and it kind of is a strategy, I feel like, for some creators. One of the earliest beefs that I can remember is Logan Paul, KSI. That was like an early beef, and even Jake Paul and I can't remember who, but maybe
And
Jake Paul,
Logan Paul.
Logan
They were
Paul.
beefing with each other back in the day, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, that was definitely, I feel like, manufactured. But this whole idea of manufacturing drama on YouTube will keep you relevant and will get you more views. It's interesting to people. My first question to you, Grant, is this a good strategy?
Well, it depends how clever you are and how good you are. And I think it absolutely can be a good strategy. And the reason for that is normally, in order to keep people's attention, you need to make more videos. You need to post more. You need to do X, Y, and Z. But if you start some controversy, then the media kind of picks you up and starts talking about you. Other creators start talking about you. And you essentially get this attention that lives beyond the videos you actually make. And that can be really profound. Obviously, the danger with this is if you go too far, if you offend too many people, if you offend the wrong people, if you do it in ways that are too distasteful, then you can end up hurting your reputation. But if you have a beef that feels kind of theatrical or fun somehow, then I don't think people mind necessarily. They'll talk about it, they'll take sides, but ultimately it's all kind of theater, right? And I think as long as you're able to keep things tasteful and not egregious, then yeah, beef is always a good strategy. It's just, how do you walk that line?
Yeah, like maybe the first instance of this is like, to me, is like hip hop beef back in the day, right? Tupac versus Biggie. Like, those were huge levers that they pulled and stayed relevant in group and popularity because of that. So I think that that's kind of something that's just been going on for a long time, just in the media industry in general. But we see it a ton on YouTube. And so, yeah, we talked about Logan Paul, KSI. There's been a lot of other creators that have done this. But like you said, it's kind of like walking a fine line. Like, this could be the end of you, right? Like, this could be the reason you get canceled or that everyone just turns on you. And you got to be smart about it. And kind of my advice is look for some things out there that are wrong. Like, look for somebody that's in your industry that's lying and call them out. Like be the superhero in the situation. Don't be the villain. Although the villain can get you more views, but if you are the superhero, then I think people will take your side as well as get you some views. So one example I gave is like, find somebody that's doing something immoral in your industry and call them out. That could start a beef between you two. That could be, a series of videos that goes on that, is entertaining and gives you that watch time.
Yeah, totally. And especially because you're kind of riffing with another person. So we're assuming that the beef is two ways, right? Like, you make a video calling somebody out, and then the other person makes a video calling you out or defending themselves. And now you've kind of created a dialogue between you two. And yeah, not only do you create this situation that lives beyond your videos, but you also are giving yourself a lot of new content ideas, really, because now you, instead of having to, what am I going to do? Am I going to fill a pool with a billion Orbeez? Am I going to, now you don't have to think about that. Now you're like, oh, well, I got this guy who I got issues with, and he's got issues with me, and he just said all the things he doesn't like about me. So now I'm going to respond to that. And there's definitely something to that. It's kind of, I think it delivers ideas to you in a way that can be really efficient actually. But yeah, again, it's, you know, how do you do it? What are the tasteful ways? Because obviously some untasteful ways. You know, you had the Jax Films and Sniper Wolf situation where she effectively doxed him, and then, you know, kind of leading up to her doxing him, he had a whole channel dedicated to calling her out and kind of stealing people's TikToks and reacting to her reacting to TikToks that she effectively stole. And so this whole beef definitely was good for his career, but then, you know, the consequence was she kind of took it too far and clearly got bitter and, you know, posted a selfie in front of his house, and it got really weird. So that's kind of the danger of beef. Like, there's real life consequences that can come from this if you go too far or mess with the wrong person. And personally, I do want to be clear. I think Jax Films did a fantastic job calling her out. I'm not saying he like welcomed this or anything, just that, you know, this is the thing about beef. I think he had an authentic beef with Sniper Wolf and her kind of stealing content, and he used that as an opportunity to create a new channel and, you know, entertain people while making a point. And that, I think, has been really good for his career. But yeah, his personal life, you know, I think it's scary when a bunch of people now know where you live, and that sucks. And as far as I know, nothing has come from that. But psychologically, absolutely something came from that.
Yeah, and I think you just said kind of the same thing that I said earlier as far as like what is the strategy to creating this beef, and it really the strategy should be call people out on the injustices that they're doing, and then that puts you kind of in the good light, you know. So can you think of any other beefs in the past where it was people calling people out? And before, I'll let you think for a second. For me, we always talk about him every time, but I think one of the reasons that CoffeeZilla has grown so quick into what he is, because that's what his channel is.
Yeah,
He's just,
he's
yeah,
beef.
he's
He's a
just,
ranch.
yeah, he's calling people out in every video, calling you out, calling you out. And, you know, there's no negative publicity that's kind of being thrown towards him, but of course, all the people he's calling out, it is. And there's something to this drama that is entertaining that will give you that watch time. So that's kind of the idea, is that not only does it create this story and all these new video ideas and this narrative, but the videos are interesting because people want to know, you know, how deep you're going to go and what you're going to say next, as far as calling people out. So CoffeeZilla is a great example. And ever since CoffeeZilla has popped up, if you don't know who he is, he's basically the internet detective. He calls out fake gurus who are doing some kind of crypto scams or any kind of scams. He's just calling people out. And to be honest, man, I think that kind of content is becoming popular. I'm seeing a lot of kind of like CoffeeZilla copycats that are kind of doing it in their own way and seeing success. So I think that's a great video format idea. But back to you, any other kind of YouTube beef, YouTube drama that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing that I was personally involved with was, you know, we made a video on Treesicle kind of calling out or it was more like we made a video about a situation with all the public information that was available, and it was about this guy Pro Jared, and he had, I mean, it's kind of a long story, but he was being kind of creepy with a lot of fans and had just big this Tumblr blog, and he was posting selfies of that fans sent him that were, you know, pretty lewd, and they knew about the blog. It was like a whole weird situation, basically. And we made a video about it, and the video exploded. We actually made like 2 videos about the situation, and they ended up getting really big, really fast. They were arguably 2 of the biggest videos on the situation in general. And one thing that really stood out to me about that was how not hard it was. Like, usually we'd put all this work into a video and, you know, maybe it'd get like 100,000 views. Maybe it wouldn't. But this time, you know, like 2 million, a million views easily. And it's like almost when you call people out, I think there's like a hack to that, where not only are you kind of piggybacking off their audience in that, like, oh, somebody said something bad about somebody I like, I'm going to watch. Now they're watching you. Like, it worked. It worked really well. But then the downside is, you know, it just, you kind of get involved with bad things, and then you have to deal with it, and people getting opinionated about you and your opinion and blah blah blah. And ultimately, I have never made a video like that ever since, just because I just don't like the feeling. I remember we were going to make like a sort of similar video about some other creators, and we wrote the script and did a bunch of editing, and we were just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I just feel like you have to have the right mindset for it. I also think you do, like, maybe I'm just too sensitive to get involved in that kind of stuff. Like, I just don't. I would rather just make things that I think are interesting. But that was a clear example of how well you can grow a channel if you're willing to do that. Like, if we had just kept hitting that note, yeah, I think we would have found a new audience, but it just didn't feel aligned with me. I'm not saying I would never beef with somebody in like an entertaining way, or that I would never call somebody out who I felt like really deserved it. Yeah, it just, there are you kind of invite some negativity, I think is what it comes down to. The trade-off is like you get extra attention, but you invite negativity, and you have to be willing to deal with that and to own it and to just be open to the situation that you have now created. You really do want to make sure you're justified in whatever you're saying.
Yeah, you said a lot there. You said a couple things, like the last part being justified. Like, don't go out there calling people out and just making stuff up. That's not ethical in one way. And calling somebody out in general is going to put a target on your back, right? So whatever skeletons you have in your closet, if you call somebody out, they're going to immediately look into how to call you right back out. So you do put a target on your back. And, I mentioned at the beginning of the pod, like, are you willing to do whatever it takes to grow on YouTube? If you're in that boat, then this is a great strategy to try. At least you've got to have some sort of maybe subscriber base to call somebody out and even get any kind of traction on one of these videos. But, imagine you have 10,000 subscribers, you're getting, let's say, 50,000 to 100,000 views every month. And you go and you make a video calling out X, some person, and it catches a little bit of traction. Like, yeah, it could be a really nice growth hack, like you saw too. But I think both of our personalities are not do whatever it takes to grow on YouTube, and we have a lot more, I don't know, our morality meter's a little bit higher or whatever. But we talk about people all the time on this podcast that are willing to do whatever it takes. And for those kind of people, try it out, And I do think that there is some validity to calling people out that deserve it. Like one person that's getting called out a lot right now is Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a real estate guy, kind of make money online kind of guy, where, in his ads, he'll say stuff like, if you're down to your last $1,000 and that's all you have left, you need to buy my program, my course. It's $1,000. Yeah. And like, that's an ad that he runs, and so, yeah, wow. He's finally kind of getting called out for that kind of stuff. And it's kind of been funny to watch. But
sounds like he deserves it.
Yeah. I mean, I think CoffeeZilla's probably made a couple videos about him, or at least is prepared to probably drop a big one someday soon. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing that we talk about on how to make it on YouTube. And controversy is great. Okay. Controversy on YouTube is great for your channel. And also polarity, right? Meaning choose a side, like your channel. If someone comes to your channel, like, it's better to be like, oh, I'm, this politically, I'm right wing, and everything that you're going to get on this channel is kind of like from the view of a right wing person, or I'm a hippie, or I'm whatever you are. Like, if you're in the middle, that's not great, because that doesn't create controversy. There's no polarity. But if you're on either side, and we're not just talking about politics, we're just talking about maybe opinions on anything, then that's going to do better for your YouTube channel. So, as you're creating content and stuff, maybe think about, well, where is my viewpoint? Where do I stand on this topic? And create a video about it. And that's what people love. They love your opinions. They love, that's what they love, YouTube. So, yeah, polarity and controversy is great.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I learned along the way is polarity is weirdly easier than trying your hardest to just figure out what the truth is, which is kind of a dark statement. But like, opinions can go a lot farther than facts. And I'm not saying, post videos where you barely know what you're talking about and, just bang against the table and make a bunch of noise. But like, if you have a few facts, like, and you feel like you know enough to say something about any situation, and you have a strong opinion, that's going to do a lot better, and be, at least the like work to payoff ratio tends to be so much better than researching every single fact and looking into every single side of the situation before posting. And that sucks. Honestly, it sucks that that's true, but it is absolutely true that people, I think they like to hear takes You know, they want to hear an eloquent take on something, whether it's true or not, but they just want to feel like they're engaging with the situation and they're kind of doing that vicariously through you. Like my favorite types of videos to watch tend to be the ones where like 6 months after a situation somebody drops a video about it. So they've kind of the dust has long since settled. They've looked at all of the evidence on both sides and they kind of bring things to light. It's sort of a tell all documentary, right? I love stuff like that, but it's a lot more work. It takes a lot longer. It's a lot harder to figure out what really happened and to unpack the nuance of everything versus just like, oh, something happened. Now I'm reacting to this news article. Now I'm just giving my opinion really quickly. And it's man, like it's crazy how well being opinionated can work if you versus just telling the truth. And I'm not saying lie, but just I don't know, just opinions are just so interesting. They're like gossip versus like an encyclopedia. You know, gossip is always going to be more popular than the encyclopedia, you know, and that's essentially what we're saying you can tap into, but like beware of the consequences. You know, it is kind of a hack to get views, but once you put your opinions out there, other people will respond to your opinions and they'll have opinions about your opinions, and that means they have opinions about you. And well, that could be fun depending on what you're looking for. If you like a fight, then maybe that's for you.
Yeah, and that's going to create engagement on your video. We're just talking kind of maybe technical things now, right? It's going to create longer watch time, more comments, and even some shares, Oh, check out what this guy's saying, for somebody that's even against you, that's going to give you some shares. And people that agree with you, that's going to give you some shares. So, I think so many people look at YouTube, especially like in the business world, and they think I have to create how-to tutorial content about my industry, about my niche. And that's how people just look at YouTube, or I need to, I don't know, do something and then share my experience about it. When really all you got to do is give your opinions, like give your takes and be, one-sided. And that's enough right there to start getting a following, of really raving fans. So it doesn't always have to be tutorial based. I think that was maybe one issue that I had with my basketball training channel that I had. It was all tutorial based. At some point, I should have started testing different formats a little bit more and maybe going for maybe not controversy, but just talking about, other trainers that I thought were teaching things wrong, or, maybe go if I wanted a little bit of drama, a little bit of beef, challenge them, maybe hop on a call with a video call and debate them, and that's another kind of format that I'm seeing in this YouTube beef, YouTube drama, is like people that are actually really opposed of each other I'm starting to see this. I never saw it before, but maybe it's happened. I just missed it. But they're hopping on podcasts together and doing these debates, like political figures. Like I saw a left-wing YouTuber named Destiny did a actual podcast with Ben Shapiro, who's the right-wing kind of face. And it was super interesting to me. I liked it. And I mean, they were pretty PG on there. They didn't get too crazy. But that guy Destiny, now I'm seeing him pop up on man, I can't remember, but just other ones where
He's everywhere.
he's
Yeah.
he's
He was on
everywhere.
the Iced Coffee Hour and he's been on a lot of podcasts recently.
Yeah, and the one that I saw, what's the other guy who's kind of like a psychiatrist?
Oh yeah, Healthy Gamer GG, Dr. K, I want to say.
Okay, so that's not who I was thinking of, but
Oh,
yeah, so there, the one I was thinking, I think it's like Jordan. I can't remember who he is, but yeah.
Jordan
Anyways,
Peterson?
Jordan Peterson, yeah, Jordan
Mm.
Peterson. Even I think they did one, but there you go. Like there's the saga, right? You're making a video. This guy's doing this wrong. This person's doing this wrong. Maybe they're coming back at you. No, I didn't. You're doing this wrong. And then 4 or 5 videos later, boom, you meet up. You make a video. You have a little debate there, and wow, that's going to really keep people watching. People are definitely going to click on that video when it pops up, no matter what the thumbnail looks like, no matter what the title is, because there's something behind that. And I think sometimes people think too much about the thumbnail and the title when really it's the storyline or the previous video that they've watched of you, right? If I create a video and it goes out there and it does great and everyone watches and they like it, the next video that I post is going to get clicked on, just because there's a story there. There's people want to watch more, when, it could have a terrible thumbnail, terrible title, doesn't matter. And that was something I saw recently too, where someone was talking about how does releasing poor videos hurt your channel? And YouTube has come out and said, no, we judge every video on an individual basis, right? You could have 1 million subscribers, you could have 0 subscribers. We'll give you some impressions on every video that you release. And if it does well, then, we can promote it more. But the person was arguing, well, that could be true. But if a viewer watches a video of yours and they don't like it at all and they click away, and then the next video you release, it has a great thumbnail, great title, great topic, they might not click on that. And that has nothing to do with your title, topic, or thumbnail. It just really the previous video and the storyline that you've been building. So really that previous video could hurt your channel in that regard. But yeah, that's just a whole nother topic in itself.
Totally. Yeah. That is another topic. I guess we could explore that another day. But I think it is interesting, the sort of appeal to the algorithm versus the appeal to humans. And it's kind of it's a double-sided coin. You kind of got to think about both here. You can't just appeal to the robots. There's ultimately just people watching your videos.
Yeah, and the idea behind this drama thing too is like you don't have to actually go and pick a person and pick a battle with a person. It could be a corporation. It could just be an idea. Like you could just say I'm against abortion or I'm against whatever, and you could create videos about that. There's some controversy, there's some polarity, and you're picking beef with all these people that are maybe for it. And there you go. There's some beef. There's more comments for you. There's probably some dislikes. There's maybe some likes in there too. So yeah, I think the idea is like take this idea of YouTube beef and YouTube drama and just try to think about how you can do it in multiple ways, not just going and saying, hey, I don't like you, I'm going to make a video about you, but it can be, about a subject or anything like that. Okay, so we talked a lot about YouTube drama. Like, what's the opposite? Like, if I wanted to get away from having YouTube drama, what would be the opposite? And that'd be like YouTube collaborations. So collabing with people, another great way to grow your YouTube channel, probably a top 5 way for sure to grow your YouTube channel is to collab with other people. Definitely back in the day, that was the way. And everybody was doing their best to collab. But yeah, what do you think about the idea of collabing with people versus creating beef? Is that more your style, maybe?
Definitely more my style. Like, the advantage of collabing, obviously, is you're making friends versus enemies. Even if it's a theatrical enemy, that's more my speed personally. I like it when people like me. That's kind of important to me, but that's not important to everybody, honestly. So I do feel like if that is important to you, then collab is definitely more your style. And then yeah, I think you're creating with somebody instead of against somebody, so you kind of are mixing and matching ideas, you're riffing off of each other. I think you can reach new understandings of what you're able to talk about just by hanging out with somebody else and creating with somebody else. Like, the process is just going to be so much different doing that than doing it by yourself. So I'm a big fan of collaboration. And then obviously, if you're featured on their channel and they're featured on yours, then that is kind of a cross promotion that works in the favor of everybody. And, it's not as dramatic. I think generally collaborations don't get the media attention that beef does. So it's like, I think it's more wholesome. I would argue it like kind of slowly builds you, whereas beef might like shoot you off really quick, and then you might kind of die off really quickly if you're not able to keep that up. It feels more, I think, authentic, and authenticity to me generally has kind of like a slow but steady rise, whereas something that's more manufactured tends to be more up and down. Like, you kind of have to like consciously keep the fire going, whereas collaboration, it feels more natural to me, at least personally. So yeah, it gets you a lot of the advantages of beef, but it's, it doesn't quite have the power of the dark side, shall we say.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, those videos can spike and do great, but they also can flop. I think with a collab, it's like you said, not likely to flop, but not likely to spike either. I personally have done one collab in my day, with my basketball training channel. I think I had around 100,000 subscribers at the time, somewhere around there. The person I collabed with had somewhere around 100,000 subscribers, and I made a video doing a move that he told me to do. And then I did a move that I told him to do. We both made videos on our individual channels. Actually, I posted his video with his face on my channel. He posted my video with my face on his channel, and we just linked in the descriptions back and forth to each other. And yeah, saw a little spike there. I think I got, if I remember correctly, something like 250 subscribers that day. So it was nice, but not something where I was like, woohoo, I'm going to just do this 1,000 times over. But if I would have maybe done it, 20 more times with other people, that probably could have been significant and well worth it. But I was hoping to get like, 10,000 subscribers or something that day. And, it
Of course.
didn't happen. And that was kind of like the end of it for me. But did you guys ever do a collab on any of your stuff?
Yeah, we did at least one, which was with this channel Noggin, who we actually know personally. He lives somewhat near me. And yeah, we did a brief collaboration. I know he was in one of our videos. He kind of had like a segment in one of our videos. I don't remember if I was in one of his. I definitely was, at least like briefly, as kind of like a little skit. So, and I found, I don't know that it really got us any extra subscribers. I think a little bit, probably similar to yours. And I will say, I did find it, like, it was great working with him. I think it was, since we weren't used to making a video like that, it did take a little bit longer, I think, to figure out, like, how do we work together? How do we, because, if you're used to making this one kind of video that is just contained with your team or just yourself, then you kind of know how to do it. You can just kind of go and do it, right? Whereas collaboration, I think there's a lot more question marks. They're like, how do we make this work? That can be sort of extra effort depending on the style of content that you're used to making. So, like, at least for me in that one example, like, I'm glad I did it because it was fun working with him. But like, it didn't have that like explosive power or anything. Like, I wouldn't say it was more helpful than just making a normal video necessarily, but I think there's a lot better ways to do collaboration versus, than just having a segment in a video. It's not like we were in the same room kind of riffing off each other, but that also wasn't really our style of content either. So yeah, I think because we were kind of pre-writing everything, all of our videos are scripted, his and mine, it maybe made collaboration a bit more complicated than if we were just vloggers or something, just hanging out and filming together. I think if you're more in that vlog style of content, then collaboration arguably might save you a lot of work. But if you're more in the kind of like video essay niche of things, then, I mean, yeah, it can still be helpful. But at least for me, I found it less obviously helpful,
Yeah, yesterday I was watching a video on Colin and Samir's channel with a YouTuber named Jesser, who does kind of like fun basketball content, like different than tutorials. But yeah, he was saying, at one point he did the typical YouTuber thing and moved into the house, the YouTuber house with a bunch of
Cloud
people.
House.
Yeah, it was the I can't remember the name of the house. It was one of them that wasn't Cloud House, but or was it? I don't know. Anyways, but the whole purpose of those houses is just to collab 24/7. He said he had, I think, 8 people living in that big house, and they would record like 8 videos. They would be all in each other's videos, and they would record 8 videos in a day, all for each other. And yeah, he said it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but they would literally be filming all day. And that's the strategy. Back then, it really was. The collaboration stuff was huge. So, all right, well, just kind of to give you guys the recap for watching this and the takeaways is it's really about, if you see an injustice, call it out. Try that video format out. If there's something out there, a company, a person, anything that you think is in the wrong, you make a video about it, call them out, and be polarizing, take a side, be controversial a little bit in your video. And those are the kind of things that really help YouTubers grow. It gets you the watch time, the engagement, all the stuff that we talked about. It's definitely worth a try. And I think that's the best part about this podcast is we give you guys all kinds of different ideas and formats and things that you can test. And if they do well, then you double down on them, right? And do it again and again and again. And you'll really be able to grow your YouTube channel. So, Grant, you got anything else for these guys listening?
Just the power of beef. It's real. It's very real.
It's so real. We've seen so many people use it, right? We have a list here on this document, but we don't need to go through all of them. But we've seen so many people use it to succeed on YouTube. So hey, try it out.
But beware.
Yeah, beware, because that could be cancellation time, right? If you go too far, if you make a mistake, or if you have some skeletons in your closet, then yeah, get ready. They're gonna put them on blast as well. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe. We're trying to get our subscribers up there. If you're listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, you can follow us there. And like always, thanks again for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Later.